In 2017, one small boy stumbled upon YouTube one day. He saw a video that changed his life forever without him even knowing it. That video was Build Our Machine by DA Games. And that boy? Well, that was Scorch himself. That boy was me. The Bendy games, since then, have stuck with me for years upon years, even though many may hate them and judge them for some outside drama. Because these games changed me for good, and I love them dearly despite their flaws. And today, why, you get to learn why. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, fellow indie game enthusiasts. Finally, after 2 months, I returned to the mascot horror genre for the first time since a FNAF video. Considering how many views that got, I probably should have returned to it sooner. This video is structured about the same as that video. I hope you guys enjoy this one, and if you do, consider subscribing. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. Either way, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey into the dark puddles. The game where it all began. The year 2017 was a crazy year for indie horror in general. You had Hello Neighbors Alpha, Doki Doki Literature Club, and FNAF 6. But to kick things off in February, one game arguably garnered the most attention in that year. Bendy and the Ink Machine. This first chapter alone, although very mediocre today, did incredible all over the internet. This led to 2 other chapters releasing later that year, and 2 more in 2018 with the 5th chapter ending the game. The game's art style, its story, and its puzzles captivated many, me included. The game's story was always my favorite part about it, as it felt distinct from other games would attempt in the future. You likely already know much of the story, so let's make it brief. You play as Henry Stein, the former partner of Joey Drew, the latter of whom invites you back into the old cartoon studio where you once worked together. You fight several inky beings, most of which are former studio workers, and garner allies who are also former workers. Except for one. One being. One anomaly in Joey's perfect equation. The Ink Demon. While listening to the audio log, which greatly expand on the story and characters, you learn more of this demon. Back in the day, thanks to the chapters being released separately, theories spawned in between releases. The biggest one was that Joey was Bendy. But in Chapter 5, we learned this isn't the case. The shock of learning the truth back then. Memories. Getting back on track, the Ink Demon isn't a former worker. He's the original. The first. Joey, many years back, tried to bring his creations to life through the Ink Machine, and the demon was the first failure. But we'll come back to him, since the story for many of these characters is expanded upon in the books and stuff. What about gameplay? I've seen people call this game a walking simulator, which will always bug me. While I do think Chapter 3, for all the things it did achieve, was in reality just a big fetch quest, overall it isn't as bad as people think. Especially because it's the only chapter where the Ink Demon, who I'll just call Bendy from now on, was truly terrifying. One time when I was playing, I finished breaking the cutouts, and there wasn't enough time to hop into hiding thing, so I ran like hell until I got to one. Like down the stairs and all around and stuff. It was genuinely terrifying, and I don't care what anyone says. But I should be fair. Not all the gameplay is something I enjoyed. While the puzzles were intriguing, and the aesthetic and OST added to the creepiness, the combat is... well, it's something. While there are tons of weapons, sometimes there's not much to do. The only overpowered weapons are the Tommy gun and the scythe, and you don't do much when fighting other than pressing a single button repeatedly. I honestly prefer not having a weapon and navigating the darkness alone, since that makes it more scary. Speaking of scary, what about the horror in this game? Like I said before, Bendy randomly appearing was terrifying. It got the adrenaline running and all that, but there's more! Just take a gander at the Lost Ones. Once they were innocent employees, but now they're barely human. They're abominations. Their skin and flesh are now ink, and their bodies are nothing but husks of what they've become. And from Grant Cohen's audio log, we can assume what it was like to be killed and reborn within the ink. Geez, that's dark, huh? But the best part of this game's horror is the atmosphere. The creepy vibe that's being given from the decaying, cartoon-like studio, and the horrific transformations with characters like Bertram or Susie is mortifying. And the music for this game is massively underrated, especially Drawn to Darkness. Final criticism of this game is probably the lighting. If they went with something similar to the alpha stages or the beta stages lighting, I think the atmosphere would have been even creepier and far more ominous. But the thing is, it just got like so much brighter, and it kinda made it less scary. But that's about all I have to say about this game. And to all those who say it did not age well, you clearly did not play it back in the day. But yeah, let's move on. Like pretty much every modern mascot horror game, Bendy has a couple of spin-offs. There's Bendy and Nightmare Run, an okay mobile game that I forgot about until I typed the script. And the only other one I could think of is Boris and the Dark Survival. Wow, this game is over 3 years old. That's insane. Dark Survival is very different from the original game, from the gameplay to the story and designs. It's basically just a paid mobile game, which isn't technically a bad thing, because from what I've seen, it's a neat way to kill time, and it somewhat gives us a very vague idea of the events prior to Ink Machine. But overall, it's okay. Technically, I'm talking about two different topics, but they intertwine like my headphone cable on various occasions. The books will lead into the lore. As of right now, there are quite a few books out there. The only two I haven't read are the JDS Handbook, which will be updated early next year for Dark Revival, and Fade to Black, which was only very recently released this month. I think my personal favorite of all of them is The Illusion of Living because it paints a picture of Joey Drew's inner thoughts. Let's start from there. Joey Drew is not humble in the slightest, despite what he says to the contrary, and is also extremely ambitious and always thinks of himself highly and less of everybody else. I mean, my guy literally thinks every woman he meets falls in love with him, but that he's too busy for them. He thinks lesser of many around him, believing they wouldn't understand him at all. I guarantee you, if he were alive today, he would genuinely be saying, "To be fair, Henry, you have to have a very high level of IQ to understand Rick and Morty. You are not him, you stupid Walt Disney knockoff." Back to what I was saying. In Illusion, it comes across as if Joey's hiding something. Multiple things. For one, he mentioned multiple times how Henry leaving was the best thing to ever happen to the studio. But why does he keep mentioning it then? Joey was a man of many secrets, and his public image was vastly different from his true self. You probably already know of that one audio log.
Okay, let's stop right there. I can only do so many takes of this trash a day. And tell the guys in writing I want more use of the word dreaming in every message. Keep railing on that, okay? Dreaming, dreaming, dreaming. People just eat up that kind of slop. What? Still on? Well, turn it off, damn it!
We all know from other entries in the franchise, Joey resented Henry for leaving. Honestly, from most of what we can see in Illusion, the entire book might as well be a fabrication.
Ironic.
Joey implies he came up with the name Bendy and told Henry what to do in terms of design, but from Henry's audio log in Chapter 3, we know he came up with him after the studio was founded, especially because of the desk in the studio. At least that was what was implied. But enough of Theory Town. What makes this book great? Well, mostly how much hidden meaning there is. Say goodbye to Theory Town and hello to Writersville. The entire time you read this book, there's this feeling Joey doesn't fully tell the truth, and by adding Arch's commentary, we can tell Joey loved to make things up. A little too much. And the more you read, you start to hate Joey more and more. He's selfish, arrogant, and basically thinks he's the main character. But this is all from Joey's perspective. What about that which isn't? While I won't talk about the Lost Ones, since its place in the timeline is confusing as hell, I will talk about Dreams Come to Life. The main character, Buddy, is turned into the Boris we know at the end of the novel. There's plenty of evidence from this, the main one being how Henry, through secret messages, refers to Boris as Buddy. This, my friends, is how you write lore. You don't retcon random lore or add more questions and answers, you expand upon hidden details to get your audience to go, "Ooh, that's interesting," and not, "I'm sorry, what?" And also, another reason I like these books is primarily due to how they're written. It's not some overly violent and gory thriller like most of Stephen King's works, but rather, it's meant to keep you on edge constantly, just like the original game. The Bendy franchise as a whole doesn't use cheap jump scares to scare you. Yeah, every once in a while it's fine, but the vast majority of horror games rely on them too much. Bendy's whole thing is suspense, to send chills down your spine, to make you gasp when you realize the horrific implications of the lore. Adrienne Kress is such an underrated author. She makes these books more suspenseful than scary, which I honestly prefer. Overall, I love these books, but it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. This game is a journey in itself. Let's dive into that, shall we? Way back in 2019, JDS announced that Bendy would get another game. The game, Bendy and the Dark Revival. The first chapter was supposed to be released in the fall. That didn't happen. The game unfortunately got delayed to 2020, and we all know about the no-no virus that caused a ton of stuff to get delayed, Dark Revival included. And then it got further delayed to 2021. Great. But then behind the scenes it got worse. Turns out Mike Mood, aka Kindly Beast, loved the character of Joey so much he practically became him. He fired multiple employees and overworked others, and for a good while, this was what Bendy was known for some stupid reason, especially because certain YouTubers wouldn't stop mentioning it again and again. From what I can tell, either Mike Mood left the project or they immediately forced him to. Hell, in the first version of the game, he wasn't even in the credits. Moving past that, on Halloween 2022, the Dark Revival trailer was announced for the following day. And on the 1st of November, the trailer released after almost no news other than a couple of screenshots here and there, and it blew up. Like, for a good while, it was trending over God of War on Twitter and YouTube. And the best thing was that the trailer even gave us a release date of November 15th, 2 weeks after the trailer. I'm not one to make comparisons, but this is so much better than what Security Breach did for its marketing. SB had trailers, missed release dates, a VHS cartoon, a hell of a ton of posters. You get the idea. Dark Revival had one trailer in 2 years and revived its seemingly dead fandom single-handedly, which is pretty cool if you ask me. And I think the game delivered hard. In the game, you play as Audrey, the new main character. She's an animator at Archgate Pictures, the new owners of the Bendy franchise, and she tries to go get coffee. About 15 minutes later, she's in hell, has a weird pipe thing as a weapon, and she meets the Ink Demon, who seems to have leveled up since the last time we saw him. I really love this design. It's pretty much perfect. Of course, for nostalgia's sake, I still love the original. Speaking of design, to all those who said this game looks the same, or rather, to the one of you who did, look at this. Look at this! They improved the lighting, they made the ink look better and more realistic, they pretty much perfected their original concept. Ink Machine walked so Dark Revival could sprint ahead to the finish line. Oh, and if it looks the same or whatever, it's a sequel! What the hell did you expect? Also, the facial animations are massively improved and, well, pretty much everything in the game is. Especially the story. Joey Drew, sometime after trapping Allison and Tom in the cycle, decided to use his machine to create life. Real life. He made Audrey. Audrey is his daughter. Ah, Bendy and its twists. Still amazing today. And throughout the game, putting Wilson's weird petty revenge aside, Audrey slowly accepts Joey as her father. And one might think Joey is redeemed now, right? Oh, my dear friend, I doubt that's true. Here's why. I believe the memory of Joey Drew held back on most of the details of what the original Joey did. He doesn't mention the fact that the Lost Ones are his former workers, or anything about the Ink Demon. Oh, and if you find a note left by him, you'll learn that Joey created multiple children, but Audrey is the last one, the perfect one, almost human. Meaning that, being the perfectionist he is, he either killed the other children or trapped them in the machine. I'm mildly certain Porter and that other girl Lost One are actually there, and as the Ink Demon says, Audrey is a monster like him. Why? Because that's what he heard from Joey. And when they're merged, Joey appears and continuously tries to convince Audrey to fight back by calling her his daughter, his perfect creation, all these things that we can tell the Ink Demon despises. In illusion, Joey calls Bendy his firstborn. And there it is. His child that he discarded like he was nothing. That's why Bendy's evil in the first place. Now, in this game, there's technically two Bendys. There's the Ink Demon, and then there's Baby Benders. While a part of me thinks that these two can be different people, the likely truth is that they're the same. This is what Bendy was, what he always has been. A child. Abandoned. Left behind. Joey left to get the ink and never returned. Damn. So no, this game does not redeem Joey. It lies to you, just as Joey did. I really like this as a plot point because it makes you realize everything you've been told is still just more lies. Oh, and Henry and Sammy are in this for about 5 seconds. And Norman is too. Now let's get into the gameplay. The biggest flaw with this game is the combat. This time around, you're stuck with one weapon that you can upgrade into up to 3 levels, and that's it. You press a single button just like before, and nothing really special or new is done here. Yikes. But the sections with the Ink Demon are pretty decent, I'd say. Instead of him spawning and chasing you, you're told he's coming and you need to hide. And I've heard people complain about this, saying it's just telling you there's going to be a jump scare. But that's the big problem. Thanks to games like FNAF, people think jump scares make a game scary. No. What's good about this is the suspense. You panic when you see this, running to find somewhere to hide. But if you don't, it's all over. You give up. It's meant to be suspenseful, and while I'd prefer to actually see the Ink Demon walking around, chasing you, especially with the free roam upgrade, this is still pretty cool. Speaking of which, unlike the first game, since all the chapters were released at once, you're given the entire studio, or what's left of it, to roam around. I definitely think this is better than before. It gives an opportunity to explore more and to add in Easter eggs and secrets for the players. The biggest problem I personally had with the first game was how constricting or restricting it could be from time to time, and you can ride a train for fast travel. Hell yeah, New York Simulator.
Hey bro, can you help me? Can you help me, bro? They trying to jump me, bro. Get your freaky ass on!
Another complaint I see thrown around a lot is a lack of old characters appearing, because Allison, for example, showed up in a lot of Dark Rivals trailers and teasers, but barely appeared overall. I think this was for the best since it allowed new characters to shine like Wilson or Audrey. But Samuel was so disrespected. I do get that it's a joke, but I hope he eventually gets his time in the spotlight. And the music was amazing. When we played as the Ink Demon, which is the best part of the game, and staying together again plays, I almost cried. Mock me all you want, but it was something special to hear all those tracks once more. Overall, it sucks this game got so forgotten so quickly by the masses because it's genuinely great. I think more could have been done in some areas, like the combat, but I'm honestly satisfied with the game. It was, without a doubt, worth the wait. Maybe it's because of nostalgia, but I just can't hate this franchise, despite its flaws. I'd argue that more popular games like Poppy Playtime or whatever the hell Garden Abandonment is only built off of Bendy, and in my humble opinion, Bendy did it better. Especially when considering things like atmosphere. Bendy has this eerie, decaying atmosphere, like FNAF 3, while Garden has none. Like, zero. And Playtime is... eh. The Bendy franchise will always mean so much to me, as I doubt I would care about a lot of the things I did now if I didn't watch that Build Our Machine animation. I've been here since the beginning, and I don't intend on leaving anytime soon. I hope everything goes well with Bendy and the Silent City. It's been a while since I made a mascot horror video, and in that short time, I'd argue I've learned a lot in terms of editing and script writing. Now that we're nearing the end of this video, and the anniversary of Dark Revival, and Halloween, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to sub, go ahead. If not, that's perfectly okay. I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. Have a good day, and try to avoid any puddles on your way out. Oh, one more thing. Happy Halloween, mortals. Remember, the demon is always watching.